Hello and welcome to the Comedy Slab, the musical. And what? Is that next week?
I think that's probably never if everything goes to plan.
I think you could catch on, I think we should do that. Comedy Slab, the musical. I think we could, if you can get away with Les Mis, I think, you can get away with anything.
Wounding.
Well, I've got, do you know I hate musicals, I do. I can't. This is the only bone of contention with my wife.
See, I hate people who say I hate musicals because they just miss the point. All musicals are not the same. It's like saying I hate TV.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Well, yeah, it probably is actually. But isn't that there are people who hate TV?
Yeah, but there are people who haven't heard every musical, which is everyone. So you can't know that you hate all musicals till you've heard them all.
All right, working on the premise, and just bear with us for a moment. This is the Comedy Slab podcast. I promise you, we'll be with you in a second. Just working on the premise that I hate musicals.
Yeah.
What musical am I not seeing that is going to make the scales drop from my eyes?
Well, I don't guarantee that you're going to like it, but some people who say they hate musicals would enjoy the musical Six, or rather Six, the musical.
Oh my life!
You won't.
Kidding me?
No, I know you won't.
It looks dreadful.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic, and it's funny.
Oh no.
It is.
Do you know it goes right back for me? This does, because I remember as a kid, and I've always liked people dancing. I've always liked, and this is where I'm kind of a bit torn really, because there's a lot of dancing in musicals, and I kind of think, well, I like that bit. You know what I mean? Gene Kelly singing in the rain,
and you like tunes, and you like words.
Yeah.
So what don't you like?
I don't know, but I remember this feeling that I had as a kid when I watched her start, and I thought, what are they doing that for? I remember thinking that. Why would you do? Hello, what time is it?
Yeah, but
I've lost my watch.
Six is not in that category.
Oh my God, it is. It so is.
No, it's not.
It
So
is.
I say to people when I try to win them over, but by the way, it's about Henry, the Six Wives of Henry VIII from a female perspective, which might be another issue you have with it, but let's park that.
No, my main issue is just dreadfulness is my main issue. It's nothing to do with sexism.
What I say to people is, don't think musical, because that comes with freighted, I think is the term, with preconceptions, as indeed you have demonstrated. Think a Beyonce gig, but with laughs.
Oh no!
And that is a different template and a different.
No, think
experience.
of Beyonce gig with the songs written by somebody who's terminally twee, and
you're having a go at me now. It's personal. Just because I was on Radio 3 for years.
I have to say, although my favourite quote is relating to musicals, and somebody said about, I think actually somebody said it to me when I was interviewing them and talking to them about the jukebox musicals, and they were saying, I said,
is that a subgenre that I should be aware of?
Yeah, like the Queen, we Will Rock You, and Our House, like where they got the songs of an artist and whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, Stephen Sondheim he doesn't care for those at all, does he? And he said, I can't remember who it was that said it, but he said, because Stephen Sondheim doesn't care for anything that isn't one of his, and that's the problem. He only likes his stuff.
That much is true, but then, in my opinion, he's rather good.
Anyway, sorry, we both digressed. I mean, I digressed first and then he followed me, so it's as much his fault as it is mine.
No, it's your fault for starting on that particular route. I won't own that one. We can't even agree on what we can't agree on.
Welcome to the Comedy Slab.
And relax.
You can see why we sit here and talk about comedy and not musicals. Otherwise, it would degenerate into a complete punch-up by the time we'd reach 10 minutes. So we do talk about comedy. If you're not caught up with the podcast before, we review, we put on the slab, this, as Adrian calls it, this notional slab of marble in a coroner's office somewhere where we pick up. Oh no, it's getting too gruesome again.
Somewhere in deepest Stevenage.
Damn you to hell and back, Marjorie.
That's Utoxeter.
We pick apart the whole concept, the cast, and in the nicest possible way, and we tell you the bits we like, tell you the bits we weren't so keen on. We'll give it a mark out of 5 each, giving it a grand total out of 10. And we'll also, in the description and the link and all the rest of it, give you an idea of where you can either buy it, get your hands on it, watch it for free, depending on its availability. We choose alternate weeks, and he got to choose last week, so I get to choose this week. And the program that I chose, and I thought we'd better get a wiggle on with this one actually, because I'm thinking. Foolishly, perhaps some would say, maybe there might be an end to this madness, this COVID-19 madness in sight, and it is built up around that, isn't it? It's a comedy.
I say free the COVID-19. They were banged up wrongly, in my view.
I thought the funniest thing I ever saw with that was last season. You know, Aston Villa, who I am a fan of.
I believe they're a certain football combo. Is that right?
They are a football 11. They had a torrid. They had a torrid season last season, and it looked like they were going to get relegated when this, the lockdown and COVID-19 happened. Some of the fans were posting a picture of an Aston Villa shirt, and on the back was the name COVID and the number 19. Hopefully he'll save us from relegation, because they thought the season was going to be scrapped, which I thought was quite cool. But there you go. Gosh. Anyway, so we chose a program called Staged, featuring two luminaries of the acting world, I think it's fair to say, David Tennant and Michael Sheen. And
Mr. Sheen, as I call him when I'm doing the polishing.
Yeah, anyway, so David Tennant, Michael Sheen playing themselves, and they're supposed to be starting this production, aren't they, of 6 characters in search of an author in the West End. That all comes to a halt. And so what I can tell, the series revolves around them trying to get this thing up and running as a rehearsal on, what's the collective term for Skype and FaceTime and all of those?
Video conferencing, video.
Yeah, but they're trying to do it on that, aren't they? Kind of non. Although they do mention one of the things at one point. But that's basically it. And I thought, well, I just wonder how well. I mean, this is probably isn't going to date very well, is it? I wouldn't have thought, but will be.
Well, even the shot at one point of toilet roll manufacture is dated, hasn't it? Since we've got, can I use the term solid supplies of toilet rolls? It's like your brown sauce in the bath last week. Please listen to episode 110 of the Comedy Slab for further details. Where did that come from?
I can't even remember how we got to that, but yeah, we did.
Well, you can try and disown it, but it was actually your gag. But I have to say, hats off to you, sir.
Thank you.
Brown hats off to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was in the titles, wasn't it? This the empty shelves and the lack of toilet rolls, and yeah, that seems like a lifetime ago now, doesn't it? The whole panic buying.
It does.
A bog roll, but yeah, it's a bit weird. Anyway, sorry. So shall we have a clip first so that we can get into it, and you can give us a headline and let us know what you thought.
Oh, yeah.
Would that be okay?
That means I've got approximately a minute to think of a headline. Obviously not giving away the fact I haven't prepped one already.
It's a minute 5 seconds actually, but
okay.
No, I don't know that for sure.
That's a bit sloppy.
I don't know. I tell you what really flummoxed me as well before we do the clip is Simon Evans is in it. They said, which I thought it was going to be the Simon Evans that we knew.
Broadcaster Simon Evans?
Was it Simon Evans Goes to Market that we did recently? Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Noted stand-up. Yes, but a different creature.
Yeah, I don't know this.
They can't both be in equity, can they, with the same name? One must be not in equity, at least one of them.
I never thought of that. That's true. They won't. They still won't allow that, will they? You kind of the same way.
No, because it's like a trade name, isn't it? It's like trying to register a name with whoever you register a business name with.
And I do you know this Simon Evans? I looked him up. He hasn't got a huge body of work, has he?
Well, you always say that, and then we dig a bit, and we find they've got a huge body of work. Funnily enough, or just a huge body.
I do not always say that, and we do not always find that. That is not true.
You've got a huge body, and it works.
I have got a body. It's quite huge. Right, shall we have the first clip then?
I think so. Get us out of a scrape.
Simon Evans, not the Simon Evans that we slabbed before, but not the Simon Evans, a Simon Evans, calls up David Tennant, and he's floating this idea of rehearsing the play over video conferencing.
David, can you hear me?
I can't see you though. You got the camera on?
No, I've been driving, so this is just an old-fashioned phone call.
Oh.
Without video?
No video.
Oh, primitive.
Can I moot an idea with you?
There's a word you don't hear every day.
What word? Moot.
You also use...
Semicolons in your emails.
I've noted.
Yes, well, I'm trying to cut back on that. Look, is there a version of this lockdown where we carry on with rehearsals?
Rehearsals?
Yeah, look, bear with me.
What if we spend 2 or 3 hours a day discussing the play?
Then when the theatres reopen, we've got something ready to go. Everyone else waits 6 weeks.
We swan into town. The British public will need entertainment.
You think the British public need 6 characters in search of an author?
It's funny.
What's Italian?
We'll make it funnier if we rehearse.
You speak fluent Italian, do you?
Sì, ho studiato italiano all'università.
Well, I speak a little German.
Tiny bit of French. But how do we do it?
Have you got Zoom?
Oh, is it pork?
Well, I'm Simon Evans, 1983. If you can find me an ad.
We could chat.
Georgia! Alright, just give me a minute. Hang on, I'll go inside.
So David Tennant has got Georgia on his mind. That is actually his wife, isn't it? Ba-bum.
Yeah.
Which it has to be, really, because I was watching it and thinking, you're not socially distanced, you two, so I'm assuming you're from the same household.
Yeah. Although I did look up some of the stuff that she's done. I think she has acted as his producer on a number of projects, I think, and also been alongside him. So I don't know whether they've got a production company together or something like that, or whether they've determined that they were going to work together like that. But yeah, because Sheen's missus is in it as well, isn't she?
Yes, and I'm assuming she's an actress, although she didn't get, not that it's any measure of someone's worth, but she didn't have a live link on Wikipedia, but Anna Lundberg.
Yeah, she's an aspiring actress, it says, from Helsingborg in southern Sweden.
Who says that?
I just did, didn't you hear me?
You having a pop, mate? You having a pop? Outside.
Who said that? I said
Socially distanced. Before I forget, because it's one of those days, I am going to forget if I don't do it. Here are the production credits, and I do expect their full accounts on my desk by the morning.
Yeah.
Infinity Hill, GCB Films. Well, it's a joint enterprise, which sounds like a criminal case. Production for the BBC, and then Staged Films Limited. Well, very often companies are set up specifically for a certain production. Is that your wooden leg falling off?
That was my creaky chair. I didn't see that one. I didn't see what was the stage things production.
Well, it was in very small writing, and then it said copyright MMXX, which I thought was Kiss Kiss, which I thought was very lovey-ish, till I realised that's the date.
It was a sloppy kiss. It was mwah, mwah, mwah. That's what the M was.
Kiss Kiss on the bottom. But actually, yes, that's 2020 in Latin.
Oh,
so get you.
Yeah, sadly, I didn't look it up at Company's House, and I know you expect me to do these kind of things.
I do. I mean, you've set the bar high on that, because any UK productions, I instantly expect their tax returns.
Yeah, sorry, Infinity Hill is the company of Phineas Glynn, who was the producer.
Didn't he go around the world in 80 days?
Yes, I think you're thinking of somebody else there. Produced by Phin Glynn, so I'm presuming that's Phineas Glynn is who owns Infinity Hill, and GCB Films. Not that I'm just looking this up now or anything. But,
no, we can tell it's not happening in real time. That you've put the homework in.
Is Victor Glynn, but yeah, and Georgia Tennant, of course, is also a producer as well. Anyway, you're just stalling because you don't want to give me a headline.
I am. Okay, here's my headline. I'm actually going to give 2 versions of it, which is a bit woolly, but hey, that's me. I was going to say overly staged.
Oh, okay.
First off, 2 words.
Oh.
Not bad for a headline, snappy. Then I thought, is that a bit unkind? That would have been after the first viewing, but as regular listeners do know, and any fool know, we watch these things twice. And with my slightly more analytical and yet forgiving hat on the second time, I'll go for slightly overstaged, or SOS.
Go on. What do you mean? Do you think Overdone, overacted? What's the reference there?
Actually, it's not a very good headline, but it's a way of at least introducing the idea of disappointment. Disappointment can only be measured against expectation. And I think I was chatting to my producer earlier, namely my girlfriend, who's also a researcher for this show now, uncredited in brackets. And I said to her, it's a bit like people judging, people of a certain age will get this reference. Apologies to everyone else, but you can Google it as usual. Eddie Braben, the writer of, amongst other things, the Morecambe and Wise show in its pomp, used to say not only did people hold a lot of have a lot of expectation about the Morecambe and Wise Christmas show, it actually got to the point where people measured the quality of their Christmas by the quality of his writing, and hence, well, okay, he wasn't so egotistical, but obviously that's a big part of it, but the quality of the overall Morecambe and Wise Christmas show. Now here, we have a huge national crisis, international crisis, which is the pandemic, and I think I brought to this show, I mean, I confess, as I did last week, it's not the first time I've seen this. I watched it shortly after it first went up on BBC iPlayer, we should just say, and still available there as we speak. I watched it putting the weight of the entire national crisis that is COVID-19, coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, etc., whatever you want to call it, the pandemic anyway, putting the weight of that onto the show. It's like you have got to carry this weight of this national crisis and to boot, make me laugh and relax about it, or somehow give me a diversion. Do you identify with that at all, that it wasn't just another ordinary comedy show that we're slabbing, that it has this weight of expectation with it?
No, I didn't, and I tell you why, is because I think with all of these things, with sitcom particularly, it's all about perspective, isn't it? I think you mentioned this before. It made me think about this. It's all about perspective. And so whatever you're seeing, you know, we've had sitcoms that have been written about, you know, the end of the world and, you know, an apocalypse type situation, or zombies and all, you know, and all this kind of stuff. But there aren't many situations that haven't been written about, however serious. But it's all about, it's a sense of perspective, isn't it? So, and this is how you go through this pandemic, I think. It's quite clever in a way, because I think, you know, you know, when it boils down to whatever's happening nationally or locally, even nationally, internationally, or completely globally, you really worry about your problems. I mean, that's the human condition, isn't it? You worry about the things that are important or not important to you.
Carry on. I might throw something in on that, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean, that's it really, is that, and I think in terms of capturing that, because of the perspective, it then doesn't become a weight, as you describe it. It doesn't become a huge issue, because they're in a situation, you know, as far as they're concerned, the reality of their pandemic is that they just want to be back out and working, and they want it all to be over, and they want to just get back to normal, which I suspect, you know, although in somewhat different circumstances, what a lot of people feel. I did worry, my worry of this was that it would be a little bit too a bit too lovey, a bit too, you know, about the stage itself and the acting profession, which is so far removed from normal life. That was my worry.
But there's another separation for me, knowing a lot of actors who aren't household names, which is, for some, I mean, it's a pecking order, isn't it? These are obviously huge names, and I realise you've got to, if you're going to make a big statement, a comedic statement, as much as, you know, as a serious drama wants to make a serious statement, and a comedy, of course, can make a serious statement and have subtext and all of that. But these two people, Michael Sheen and David Tennant specifically, putting Simon Evans to one side, they are worlds away from my mates who are actors, who one of them considers himself a working actor if he gets 2 jobs a year under normal circumstances. And I mean, I don't know how funny people in that position will find it. You see stuff on Twitter. I saw something retweeted by another actor friend of mine, where someone was in despair that they would ever get to do another acting job because of COVID. But it's probably unfair, again, to put all that weight on Michael Sheen and David Tennant, who are successful and they're solid financially, one assumes, secure. Can they be an everyman or an every person that speaks to everyone? I don't know. You're making the argument that it goes beyond lovey-dom, aren't you?
Well, I'm not sure it kind of made that transition beyond that. I'd kind of hold my horses a bit there, and I didn't. That was my worry, was that it was going to be too lovey-fied, and I don't think it kind of really broke out of that. It's really curious, because there was a bit at the start where they were talking about Dylan Thomas, and I thought the words on the page were really quite good, and it was very reminiscent of Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon doing their kind of chats and impressions and all that sort of stuff.
Well, sorry, why have you put that qualifier, the words on the page, as opposed? I thought, are you meaning they weren't delivered as well as they might read?
Yeah,
or am I misunderstanding?
Yeah, no, I was going to. That's what I was going to say. Is that the words on the page I thought were really good, but it was reliant on the fact that they were going to have the same kind of chemistry that Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon had, and I don't think that matched up to. Because it was all about it was Dylan Thomas, wasn't it? And Sheen quoted it, and then Tennant said, "But what did he really write in Welsh?" And it was that kind. And I thought that was kind of if I could have seen Coogan and Brydon doing that, but I don't know what it was. It just there wasn't the. Maybe it's because we're not used to seeing them together that we don't have that expectation that they have that chemistry, and maybe they do. I never really felt they did. It's only a 15-minute episode, so I never really felt they did. Did you feel a chemistry between them or not?
I thought there was a similarity, but I'm not sure how much I would want that, because I found that if people can hear our Comedy Slab on the trip, was it Series 1, Episode 1 we did? It was very early on.
I think
it was Series
yeah.
1, wasn't it? In the Lake District.
I'll have to check it up.
Oh, yeah, and I meant to tweet that out at Comedy Slab. I will do eventually, especially if you nudge me and remind me, Shane. I just sent you privately, but we should share it with the world. People have probably got it. And I don't know. I suspect it's on the DVD extras to the Series 1 of the trip, or download, where you see some outtakes of it's effectively male sparring, isn't it? When they're swapping impersonations. And they're both very good at them, some better than others and blah, blah, blah. But where they're good together, the rivalry makes more sense. What was I going to say? Coming back to the original point, I just didn't believe, and I'm sorry, this makes me sound a little bit lacking in creative thought or imagination, or perhaps more to the point, suspension of disbelief, or SOD for short. But I didn't believe that David Tennant, if I know that Under Milkwood, if I know that's in English and not in Welsh, then I can't quite believe that an actor of David, and we're meant to believe it is David Tennant, aren't we? As opposed to David Tennant playing a role of someone who doesn't really know much about plays. So I know that Dylan Thomas wrote it in English, and generally wrote in English to the best of my knowledge. I feel I'm related to Dylan Thomas. I'm afraid it's going to have to be a famous cousin Ron, name drop. My dad's cousin Ronald Lacey played Dylan Thomas in a BBC Two one-off back in the 70s.
Right.
Arguably his high point. People know him for, I'm always name dropping Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Nazi in the family, the only one we know about, or the only one that's made themselves known, and he was pretending. But he played, and Tom Hollander has played it in more recent years, played Dylan Thomas. And that was a very good one-off drama. But I mean, you would have known that was in English, would you not?
No, I thought it was quite a reasonable question to ask. I didn't know whether it was written in Welsh and translated. But, I mean, it's plausible, isn't it? It is a plausible thing to
I guess but it's not plausible that a very famous actor who's played Hamlet and so on wouldn't know that. It's all right for one of us not to know it.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know what it is about David Tennant. I really like David Tennant as an actor, and there's a couple of things I struggle to understand him a lot of the time. I think he's a very mumbly kind of actor. We watched Broadchurch that he was in with Olivia Colman. Not so long back, and this, way behind the game of everybody else. And
the first series, or it probably doesn't matter. It's
the first series, but I drove Mrs. O'Connor mad by going, "What's he say? What's he say? What was that then? What did he say?"
But
then?
does that mean Mrs. O'Connor did hear what he said?
Yeah, well, she hears everything, and what she does near, she makes up and pretends she did. So.
And she hears your mumblings.
Exactly. I think that's what trained her ear in the first place. But yes, so there's that, and there's also he's almost a bit too relaxed in his roles. He's like, I don't know, but I have to qualify that by saying that I really like him. I think he's really watchable. And if there's something with him in, I think, oh yeah, okay. Michael Sheen, on the other hand, I think he's much more of a chameleon style actor, isn't he? When you think of the roles that he's, and I think he referenced one of them, didn't he? When he played David Frost. I mean, you think some of the roles that he's done. He played Brian Clough and David Frost, and I mean, he's. I mean, to me, he's like an actor's actor, isn't he? He can turn his hand to most people, and rather than doing a kind of cheap knock-off impression of them, he really gets under the skin of the mannerisms, and so they're two very different actors, aren't they, in a way, in a sense?
Yeah.
Nothing to say that they can do comedy, though. People always say that it is a separate and difficult discipline.
It's a subsection of, well, I see it as a subsection of drama, and I mean, the old cliche, which is worth revisiting, for when people are in a real space called a theatre, in real time, for instance, you can get away with doing a serious drama and you can't hear a pin drop. That's a success. But if you do a comedy and you can hear a pin drop, no one laughs. You really know that's a failure, don't you?
Yeah.
You can't finesse that or talk your way out of it. And no amount of love is coming up to you and telling you you were wonderful will wipe that from your memory.
No.
You are judged by the ability to make people laugh. It's a strange thing, but there it is.
What about this premise that, and because something I put in my notes that the whole Skype, FaceTime, what was the one he mentioned? He mentioned one in there, didn't he? Zoom, I think, was the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, I am so sick of seeing that now on TV that. Every advert for every bank, every supermarket, every time you turn on the TV was like a somebody doing a Zoom or a Skype or a FaceTime or whatever. In actual fact, and I said to Angelina the other day, I caught some of the ITV local news, and I said, why are they still interviewing guests on laptops? Why are we still doing this? Because you can send a camera crew out and they can stand 2 meters away quite easily. They generally do anyway. What's going on? I don't understand why we're still doing it. But I do wonder whether is the premise tired already, do you think? Did you find that at all? Was that something you think, oh, again, here we are?
I think you have to judge it by... It almost sounds like I'm saying it's already a period comedy, but you kind of said that earlier on. We try, don't we, to judge comedies but by the standards of when they appear, or that has to be in the mix, doesn't it? And already, as you say, we are in a different period, although we're in a kind of limbo land where we still haven't got theatres open as we speak. And it's worth saying, isn't it? Because this show is going to be in an archive, we hope, for a reasonably long time, if not for all time.
We're thinking 40 to 45 minutes at least, aren't we? I think, at the very
possibly,
outside.
Possibly. But it's worth marking where we are, and we're already in a different period, but we're not out of it. So we're not out of the woods yet. So I'll tell you what I'm really sick of since you asked the question, and we must have our second and final clip in a mo.
Go on.
It reminds me of a Blackadder quote. It must be from the show I worked on. Blackadder Goes Forth, the series I worked on, and I won't let people forget if I can get away with it. which and it comes from the Aid Edmondson character, which is I'm ad-libbing around it. It's a paraphrase. Forgive me. Some people will know it word for word, and you may do. It's a really reflective moment where he's sounding pained himself. He says, "This war, so much suffering, so much pain, so much poetry." And that's what I get from the ads. Have you noticed that is a tick of not every ad, but so many ads. You hear the first line and you think, oh yeah, there's a point to that. Then the next line rhymes, and then the next line after that rhymes. Oh my God, it's another COVID bit of poetry masquerading as an advert, or an advert masquerading as poetry. What is it? Because the analogy of COVID is we're in a war against this virus. There's something about war that brings out poetry in humans, it seems. What is that?
It's got to stop, hasn't it? Whatever it is, really.
It has. It must stop on the hop.
Unless I can go back to tell you the one about there was a young man from Nantucket.
No, you definitely can't.
You'd
not
never
without
let
an
me do
e-certificate.
No. Anyway, go on. Let's have another clip then. So in the first clip,
Yeah.
and as I mentioned, they are quite short episodes, aren't they? These the first one 15 minutes. The others are 18 to 20 plus minutes. So I'm not really quite sure how, because this went out on the BBC, didn't it? So I'm not really quite sure how it fitted in with a slot there. Really, I'm not sure what was happening. So Simon Evans has called David Tennant to float his idea, and then there's been a bit of sort of to and fro backwards and forth, and then David Tennant calls Michael Sheen to try and sell him the same idea.
So, come on, what do you think? You up for it?
Oh, hang on a minute. Thanks, babe.
Did Anna just bring you wine, Michael?
Hi, David.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, good to see you.
And you. It's a bit early, isn't it?
What time did you get up this morning?
About 8.
Yeah, well, I was up at 5 for the dawn. So I'm 3 hours ahead of you, and it's after 6. Cheers.
Did Michael show you his painting, David?
He did, yeah.
Isn't it stunning?
I can scarcely believe it.
We're discussing 6 characters in search of an author.
Oh, yeah, I heard about the cancellation, David. That's such a shame.
Oh, David's not ready to give up on it yet. He has an idea to cast it and then rehearse it like this.
Oh, could that work?
Well, in theory. And then we're ahead of everyone else when all the theatres reopen. We get our pick of the West End houses.
If the birds haven't taken over by then.
I should say, I think that's a nice running gag, actually. They've each got, David and Michael have each got their own tick, which is their nervous response to lockdown. David's is spelling words backwards, which, to be fair, that's shown up when they were locked down in a different way. They were snowed in on one occasion. I love it because I identify with that kind of lunacy. I went through a phase of spelling every word, probably the last word anyone said, and working out if each of the letters was symmetrical. I wouldn't have confessed it were it not for this, I realise now, fictitious character.
I don't know where you find the time to do something like that. Where do you? Well,
that was part of the problem. I had too much time at that particular time. But then Michael Sheen's got his own tick, which is the birds, which is referenced there at the end. I thought that was really nice writing. Did you not think?
Yeah, and it also referenced that point that it did make me laugh out loud, where they were exchanging artwork that they'd done.
Oh yeah,
and David Tennant was saying he'd sat around with the kids drawing pineapples,
and you see a pencil drawing of a
and Sheen had said he'd been out to capture the dawn, so Tennant goes first and shows you this drawn pineapple. It's dreadful, isn't it? This dreadful thing, and then Michael Sheen produces this gorgeous, is it a watercolour or an oil? It's difficult to tell, but it's beautiful anyway, isn't it? And he says, it was the bit where David Tennant says, he says, "What? You didn't draw that, did you?" And he went, "Oh, F off," he said. "You didn't." I just thought it was quite a natural reaction, really. It was good though, but yeah, I mean, there were bits in there. There were glimmers in there that you kind of thought, actually, yeah, I kind of, I could quite like and quite amusing. Wasn't enough of that for me, really. I mean, although I still found it immensely watchable, it was an odd one in that sense.
Well, you mean there weren't enough gags? The gag rate?
Yeah, but still watchable, I think, really. I mean, you don't sound like you... I'd sound like I enjoyed it more than you did, but I don't know.
Well, there's a mixed answer to that. I broke with my Unitarian rule and watched more than one episode when I started to watch it.
When you said about him being snowed in, I thought, well, how do you know that? I wondered how you'd done that. Yeah.
No, it was actually referencing this one, I think. I can't remember exactly how many I watched. It was 3 or 4. But the worry about that is it's almost worse to watch 3 or 4 because why wouldn't you carry on? Why wouldn't you feel the need to finish the series?
To complete it, yeah.
I didn't. But that's partly me, so we know that's how I operate.
I think that's completely you. I don't think it's partly you. I do. I think you punish yourself. I think there's something.
Punish myself.
I do. I think you punish yourself with that. I think you'll kind of like you tease yourself with it. You'll go right. Okay, I'm gonna. How many's in the series? 6. I'll watch 5 of them.
Well, I'll have you know, albeit we can't put it on the slab because it's not a comedy, I've just finished this very day episode 12 of 12, all 12 of Normal People. And it's not just because there's a lot of rumpy-pumpy in it.
Oh, wow.
Although that was a driver.
Wow. I'm absolutely smacked of the gobs. Anyway, come on then, let's have the scores on the doors, Gloria. What you got for us?
Well, that's odd. I had this sort of 3 out of 5, and I wonder if that's a little bit mean, but that was the gut feeling earlier in this recording when I realised I hadn't actually decided before the recording. I'm inclined to go with that. It is qualified by what I said at the top, which is, I suppose it comes, for me, with huge expectations. I was hoping for a massive statement, and maybe that's unreasonable. A massive statement for lockdown, something big, chunky, that would work for all time. I don't know. Is that beyond the wit of man or woman? Do you think I'm being unreasonable? It's not just a rhetorical question.
I think I don't think it's unreasonable. I think it's a big ask, though, and I think in terms of you've got to hit the sweet spot, haven't you? With that, you've got to be. It's not just about the big production. It's got to be something that is of epic proportions. And in comedy, I mean, they don't come along very often at all, do they? Really, I think.
Well, they didn't have a run up at it, did they? Really, it's not like they've had several series to cultivate it and refine it and hone it.
No, see, I mean, what you didn't like about that, I kind of warmed to that because it was relaxed in that sense, and it was very personal rather than a broad brush, because it was about these two guys. I don't know whether they'd been better off doing them as characters rather than as real people. Maybe that would have helped the things, so that you hadn't got the preconceptions of Michael Sheen and David Tennant. I
don't know if it would have helped.
As we think we know them. I don't know, but do you know what I mean? I just think maybe that might have been a better way to change it. Anyway, I'm with you, probably for slightly different reasons, but I give it a 3 as well.
This must be one of the very few occasions in 111 episodes where we've agreed on the same mark.
Yeah, I think it is probably.
Wow.
But yeah, I just for me, I wanted it to be, it had the potential to be funnier. I wanted it to be funnier, and I wanted more gags in there, really, because I think they could do it. I think they could pull it off. I think it would have been with the laid back feel. I thought it would have been great. But yes, that's 6 out of 10 for Staged. It is available on the iPlayer. I'll put the link in anyway. If anybody wants to follow the link, you can do and go and get it. So homework for next week then, young man. What have we got?
This is something I've meant to put on the slab for ages. Now, we've had a certain Toby Young in a different guise as a coach driver in something we slabbed. Oh, that would be some months ago, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It was a long time ago now. Was it Don't Forget the Driver?
It was Don't Forget.
As in the tip tray as you go out, tiptoe out of the coach. Oh, I've got a question for you in a moment, which is comedy related, which relates back to this show, so don't let me forget that.
Episode 49 of the Comedy Slab, don't forget the driver. We gave that
Thank you.
4 out of 10. Ouch.
Really? That must have been 2 out of 10 each. 2 out of 5, I should say, with my terrible math.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, let's give Toby Young another run at it, because there was a point where it seemed you could only get a BBC commission if Toby Young was in it, certainly for a BBC drama, if not a comedy. How are you on the Detectorists?
I am aware of it.
Have you seen... Well, you probably don't want to give too much away, do you? You cagey fellow, you. Have you seen loads? Can you say that? Or have you seen a few or almost none?
I've seen 2 series.
Well, that's not bad going.
There were 3.
And there are 3
in total. Yeah, 3. I haven't seen the latest. I haven't seen the 3rd series.
Okay. I'll be honest. I'm changing tack on the hoof. Only fools and horses would change on the hoof, but hey, I'm a fool. I was going to say Series 2, Episode 1. Let's switch that, since you haven't seen Series 3 and I haven't. I've only seen 1 or 2 from Series 1. Let's go to Series 3, Episode 1, which is on iPlayer. In fact, there's 19 episodes or something up on iPlayer as we speak. Series 3, Episode 1 of The Detectorists. And then for people who've not seen any of them, Episode 1, I like to think you would have thought of any series ought to give you a little hand up and ease you in to the series, the new series. So let's go with that and see what you make of it. So that's Detectorist Series 3, Episode 1, your homework for the week.
All right.
Choose.
And don't forget, if you've enjoyed the Comedy Slab, you can catch us on Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeart Radio, Spotify. I've not heard anything. There was supposed to be a new one coming up, and they said, "Did you want to be on it?" I went,
"Oh yeah, you keep trailing, you keep teasing us on that."
I don't know whether they've just changed their mind, or either that, or they just didn't want us.
They probably heard our show.
Yeah, I'm not really quite sure now. But in all the usual places where you like to get your podcasts, you can usually find us, including the back issues as well.
Back issues. There's an ancient analog term.
Google it.
The hard copies of the Slab. Well, I have already referenced at Comedy Slab on Twitter. Do follow us there, because I must, and you've got to nag me on this, I must put up the link to the extra material from the Trip Series 1, Episode 1, that sparring between the 2 guys up in the Lake District. Definitely, there were some parallels between that and what we've just been slabbing staged. We're also at Comedy Slab on our Facebook page. We'd love you to like that, or we'd like you to love that, whichever way you want to swing it. Personal recommendation, you can't beat that. In the post-lockdown age, if you're able to do it in person, or if you can do it socially distanced, just shout at someone randomly, "The Comedy Slab," and recommend us, or to your priest confessor, or your boss, or your underling, or your overling, whichever ling you want to recommend us to. That would be appreciated. And lastly, but in no way leastly, a 5-star rating on iTunes / Apple Podcasts, hugely appreciated. Thank you very much in advance.
And you said to remind you about something you were going to say about a gag or something?
Oh, thank you, yes, because I'd already forgotten again. How do you get from, this isn't a joke, it might sound like one, how do you get from Michael Sheen to Porridge, that is the sitcom of that name, Ronnie Barkay and all of that, how do you get from Michael Sheen to Porridge in 2 steps? This was an education to me, but perhaps you're already there.
Michael Sheen to Porridge.
Go via... I'll give you a clue. You go via...
The Old Kent Road?
No. Go via Mayfair. Do not collect £200.
No, go on. No, it's beyond
go
me.
via a partner, former partner of his.
Of Michael
You're
Sheen?
not allowed to Google it.
Oh, no, there's been loads, though, hasn't there?
Oh, steady on. Well, okay, wife. That narrows it down to 3, of whom we know one.
I mean, 3 wives. I mean,
well, not at the same time.
Good grief. We know what he's doing in lockdown, don't we? Yeah. No.
Well, I don't think I can't take the moral high ground. You can, because you've managed to make a success of your marriage.
Patricia Brake?
Kate Beckinsale.
Oh, of course, yes.
Of course.
Kate Beckinsale. So join us next week and find out who's having sex and who's married to whom.
I'm saying nothing.
Before we go, I was just looking for recommendations, and while you were talking, I just put worst musical ever into Google.